Everybody in the group participated, but I'll be the one speaking. We'll start with some background information on Costa Rica, and then some information on the industry, and then cover the importance of ecotourism to Costa Rica. The bulk of our time, though, is going to be spent on the SWOT analysis, and that'll include an idea that we had that we thought could help leverage some of our expertise and also provide an opportunity in that environment. So let's get started with some basic information on Costa Rica. Costa Rica is just under 20,000 square miles of the Central American Isthmus, making it about 6.7% the size of Chile or 0.6% the size of Brazil. It is bordered on the north by Nicaragua, on the south and east by Panama, and Costa Rica, which means rich coast, has coasts on both the Pacific and the Caribbean side. Its capital and largest city, San Jose, is right along the spine of the country, just right about in the middle. This chart shows the gross domestic product based on purchasing power parity per capita divided by $1,000 for Costa Rica and several of the other countries that we've studied this week. Costa Rica's population is around 4.4 million, giving it roughly 1/4 of the population of Chile, and ranking it the 18th most populous country in Latin America. Costa Rica's GDP, based on purchasing power parity, is just under $50 billion, which ranks 11th in Latin America. Now that we know a little bit about Costa Rica, let's talk about what ecotourism is. The International Ecotourism Society, or TIES for short, promotes responsible travel to natural areas that conserve the environment and improves the well-being of the local people. TIES lays out several principles for those involved in promoting ecotourism, which also serve as a handy definition of what ecotourism is. Minimize environmental impact, build environmental and cultural awareness and respect. That's very important. Provide positive experiences for both the visitors and the hosts, not just for the visitors. And provide direct financial benefits for conservation. Direct financial benefits, not just dumping money into the economy. It will also provide financial benefits and empowerment for the local people. And of course, to raise sensitivity to the host country's political, environmental, and social climate. TIES estimates that since the 1990s, the ecotourism industry is growing from 20 to 34%. And in 1994, the industry was growing 3 times faster than the tourist industry itself. With an obvious benefit to companies in the tourism industry, ecotourists have been known to pay a premium, sometimes as much as 3 times what tourists pay for just a regular experience. And obviously, this could be a very lucrative activity in developing countries. Now let's go over the importance of ecotourism to Costa Rica in 3 main areas: the economic, the social environmental, and then of course the political. With a $1.92 billion a year tourism industry, Costa Rica stands as the most visited nation in the Central American region, with 1.9 million foreign visitors in 2007, including yours truly. This is us standing in front of an active volcano. This was kind of an interesting time for us to visit Costa Rica, as our 5-year-old son had this great fear of volcanoes. And he said to me when we were getting ready to go, "Dad, are there any volcanoes in Costa Rica?" I said, "Yeah, there are a few. There are actually over 120. And he said, "Well, they're extinct, right? They're not going to go up, erupt." I said, "Well, some of them are. But we always have plenty of warning when this kind of thing happens." plenty of warning. Don't worry about it. If there's a volcano going to erupt, we'll be
earthquake in
alarmed.
San Jose.
So we're on this tour, and somebody asked the tour guide that is that question. You know, how do you know when the volcano's about to erupt? He said, if the volcano is about to erupt, I'll be running that way. That's how you'll know. So we were a little bit off. We didn't tell him that, but we got it. The rate of foreign tourists per capita in Costa Rica is the highest in Latin America at 0.46, as compared to Mexico, which is 0.21, Dominican Republic, which is 0.38, and Brazil, which is 0.03. In Costa Rica, tourism, most of which is ecotourism, generates $1,000 per visitor. So we got 1.92 billion, 1.9 million visitors, thus $1,000. Now, by way of comparison, when tourists visit France, it's only about $400 per visitor. So even though costs are a lot lower for most things in Costa Rica and a lot more expensive in France, Costa Rica still brings in a lot more money for tourists. Most of the money that goes into ecotourism is received by the hotel chains, the airlines, and that sort of thing. They get the people down there and kind of book the trips in advance. However, the other 20% that goes to the locals is really kept really well within the economy. Up to 95% of that money, goes to help the locals and to local businesses. Ticos, which are what Costa Ricans call themselves, are very, very proud of their environment. And it's very, very unique. Costa Rica is one of the most biodiverse places in the world. In fact, Costa Rica is so strongly associated with ecotourism that when people say they're going to Costa Rica, it's almost assumed that that's what they're doing. Right? Costa Rica is to ecotourism what Kleenex is to facial tissue. It's just almost synonymous with the name. Unfortunately, developing nations often do not have the resources to support ecotourism and all the additional burden it places on the economy. For example, at Costa Rica's Tortuguero National Park, the Western Hemisphere's most important area for these green turtles, green tortoises, they only have 10 full-time employees. Right? And a lot of what prevents poachers, or in some cases doesn't prevent poachers, are local volunteers who just kind of patrol the beach and keep an eye on this. That can be a big problem, right? Because as the industry grows, it's not really a sustainable model. But clearly there's a lot of political pressure to maintain Costa Rica's strong environmental laws. Costa Rica still relies heavily on primary products, though. So even though there is some high tech, it still relies very heavily on primary products, which makes it subject to the declining terms of trade, a chart that I'm sure we're all familiar with, as we've seen it half a dozen times. In order for Costa Rica to shift more to manufactured goods, they're going to have to make some changes. We've heard Dr. Nelson say that Costa Rica is under pressure from the U.S. to privatize the utilities. Of course, if that's done, then the utilities may want to make money, which may mean that they can start pushing for changes in the environmental laws.